Our top story first. Cloud communications tech firm Exotel has reported a sharp operating turnaround in FY25, swinging to a positive EBITDA of 34 crore rupees compared with losses of 31 crore rupees in the previous financial year. The Bengaluru-based customer experience technology firm says the improvement was driven by stronger unit economics, tighter cost controls, and better execution. Gross margins expanded too. Absolute gross profit, in fact, rose 18%, while overall operating expenses fell by around 10%, resulting in improved operating leverage. The company has also reported operating revenues of 490.5 crore rupees in FY25 and full-year profitability alongside stronger cash generation and improved working capital efficiency. Exotel says it now powers over 25 billion customer interactions annually for more than 7,000 enterprises and has enabled over 4 billion AI-led resolutions during the year. In fact, FY25 also saw new product launches across its voice, conversational AI and contact center platforms, and a strategic expansion into the United States and Saudi Arabia, adding to its presence across India, Southeast Asia, the Middle East and Africa. To speak to us about some of these highlights and these milestones and what lies ahead for the company, I'm now joined by Exotel's founder and CEO, Shivkumar Ganeshan. Mr. Ganeshan, great speaking to you. Thank you so much for joining us here on South Central. First up, what do you make of the turnaround in your earnings? And more importantly, what exactly was it that propelled this growth?
Thank you for inviting me to speak about our journey. I am obviously pretty excited about the turnaround because it gives us the ability to take control of the future and to be able to drive value to our customers more confidently. So it's a pretty exciting time. It helps us to take longer bets. It helps us to be a little bit more strategic. Like you rightly mentioned, I think this turnaround has not overnight success. We've been investing on multi-year projects over the last 3-4 years to be able to get to this place. I would say that we have profitability in our DNA. In the last 14 years of existence, for almost 12 of those 14 years, if I'm not wrong, Exotel has been profitable. So I would say that this is just homecoming for us. We're just back to the place where we were supposed to be.
You're right, you couldn't have said it better. Back to where you're supposed to be, Shivkumar. But let's quickly change focus and talk specifically about conversational AI. It's something that you're quite excited about. In fact, Exotel has been betting big in this space. So what is that growth projection like in terms of the overall market for conversational AI itself? And how do you at Exotel plan to leverage on these opportunities that the market comes with?
Absolutely. So there are a few things in play here. So I think generative AI in general, I think this is an emerging trend. So it'll be a bit too early to speak too confidently about what's going to come our way. But there are a few observations about the market that we have. Firstly, we launched a product called Agent Stream, which is our vision to be able to help connect AI and humans. So historically, we've been in the business of connecting humans and humans. So now we are connecting AI and humans, AI agents and humans. And it's largely the same business, but there is a little bit of a change. AI voice bots and agents expect a few different kinds of things from a voice platform compared to humans when we speak. For example, latencies of 500 milliseconds it's not even visible for the human ear, while AI absolutely needs that time because inferencing time takes a lot more time. So we want that latency to be as small as possible. So these are the little re-architectures we are doing to the system. And this business actually is currently growing at about 100% year on year, the agent stream line of things, which is AI streaming. I'm also happy to share with you that based on my calculations, roughly about 25% of all AI calls in India today are already running on the Exotel platform. Then apart from this, we also have our own voice AI offerings and chat AI offerings. And the generative AI offerings overall is growing at about 200% year on year. And so these are the 2-3 things that we are pretty kicked about. Interestingly, we also think that our contact center business is also going to grow. And this may be a little counterintuitive because you expect the number of contact center seats to sort of come down. But what's unique about Exotel is we are India's only what we call a CCaaS player, contact center as a service, as in contact center which is delivered in the SaaS model. And our expectation is that a lot of the on-premise contact center agents will now move to the cloud, actually also driven by the AI momentum. And so that part of our business is also going to grow quite well. So overall, we are pretty bullish about what's coming our way. I also think that adoption of AI in India is about 6 months behind the US in terms of the maturity of the market. So I think that there's a lot more action coming our way in the days to come.
Absolutely. And Shivkumar, you speak so much about AI being at the very fulcrum of the work that you do, and not just you, but SaaS and overall enterprise software makers, the kind of market that you will be contending with going forward will see the AI element larger than ever before. So I can't quite help but wonder, and I'm sure you'll understand, do you see more SaaS and enterprise software firms now reporting AI-driven revenues as part of their earnings reports? Is this part of an earning report going to be keenly watched, and do you see a distinction now being made as SaaS and enterprise majors go forward with revenue reports in the near to medium term?
Oh, absolutely, yes. So this is already happening. In fact, I'm actually talking about my AI revenue as being slightly separately from my overall revenue. We know that public market companies in the US, ServiceNow, Salesforce, some of these people have started talking about AI revenue separately as well. I want to just clarify that, see, all of us are in the business of enabling the jobs to be done for our customers. And AI is a technology, and as tech companies, it is our duty, our responsibility to be able to adopt what is cutting edge out there and take it to our customers. So it's not something that is unique to AI. As and when new technologies keep coming in, we will sort of adopt it, and then we will now report growth in that separately because so that's how the world works.
Absolutely. And I'm just taking a look at those numbers that you came out with recently with AI-led resolutions at about 4 billion plus. Do you continue to see this AI-led resolution number rising as you go forward? And if yes, to what extent, Shivkumar?
Oh, absolutely, yes. So there are two anecdotes that come to my mind. We've had one customer for whom we were running a collections bot, and in 1 month, it collected about 3 crores rupees, completely automated, no human involved. And frankly, everybody, including ourselves, we were like um, so excited about the fact that this is actually happening. And then there's another Middle East customer for whom we are handling about 70% of all the customer service queries that are coming their way. So it is definitely happening. The golden standard benchmark for what we call as deflection rate, which is how many resolutions were provided by AI and how many were provided by humans. I think that's about 60%. So this is what enterprises generally expect now. And so one would imagine that this part of the market is going to continue to grow. So we are obviously scratching the surface of what's possible, but over time, about 60% of all engagements between you as an end user and the brands that you love to interact with is likely to be on AI.
All right, sounds good. 60% of all engagements then likely to be on AI in that futuristic outlook and those stellar numbers that you've recorded. Thank you so much for joining us, Shivkumar. Great speaking to you and having you right here on South Central. Here's wishing you a really happy new year for both you and Exotel going forward.
Thanks so much.
Moving on
Pleasure
then, Infosys has been in the spotlight ever since allegations surrounding its 250 crore rupee land bank sale to Puravankara a few days ago. Now, the land bank in question, a 53.5-acre parcel in the Anekal Taluk near Bengaluru, was sold to Puravankara, with the developer then projecting a gross development value of 4,800 crore rupees and a saleable area of 6.4 million square feet. Ever since the transaction, allegations, including some from Congress MP Karthi Chidambaram, have accused Infosys of selling government-allotted land at present-day market rates, an allegation that the company has now responded to with its clarification and outright refusal. My colleague Meryl joins us with more.
Just a quick update coming in from Infosys. There was a media report floating around last week about a land transaction that the company had undertaken. selling a 53.5-acre land parcel near Bengaluru to real estate developer Purvankar for a consideration of around 250 crores. The company has since clarified that this land sold was not allotted to it by the government and was indeed acquired in the open market as non-commercial, non-industrial land. They further said that this was identified for divestment and to optimize asset utilization in compliance with regulatory requirements. Purvankar as well has stated in a regulatory filing that this land will strengthen its presence in one of the city's emerging growth corridors with a GDV potential of 4,800 crores being added to its book.
Moving on then, Chennai-based water technology firm VA Wabag has announced an engineering, procurement and construction contract for a large repeat order from the Saudi Water Authority. The company will set up a brackish water reserve osmosis or a BWRO plant with a capacity of 50 million litres per day at Al Jouf in Saudi Arabia. As per the contract, VA Wabag will design, contract and commission the plant over a 14-month timeline. The facility in question will treat raw borewell water and ensure long-term reliability and sustainability in the water supply itself. In fact, the company's management spoke earlier in the day to ET Now. Here's a slice of that conversation.
See, Saudi is expanding. There are new cities that are being developing. The focus on more sustainable reuse, recycle, Riyadh Green initiatives. There are many of such initiatives that have been coming in the kingdom. So that's where, we see a lot of focus on water, especially with the FIFA. That would also kick in. So we are seeing a lot of, sustainable water projects that have been coming in the kingdom. Whether it's Aramco, even Aramco is expanding their utilities. So we see a lot of a strong order book. As we speak, in Saudi alone, we are working on bids of $1 billion.
Well, a healthy repeat order there for VA Wabag, which is good news, no doubt, given the fact that it is firstly a large order and will see the company, in fact, execute this for the Saudi Water Authority, which makes it one of its Ivy League orders, one might say, going forward. Well, moving on to Karnataka then, the state government has said it will take a humanitarian approach and find housing for residents impacted by the state's recent encroachment drive in Bengaluru. State authorities have been in the spotlight in the recent past for carrying out demolitions as part of an anti-encroachment drive in Yelahanka in North Bengaluru. In fact, criticism has been directed at the state since the demolition drive has largely impacted members of the Muslim community. Deputy Chief Minister D.K. Shivkumar has defended the decision, calling the demolished settlements unfit for living. However, in a heartwarming gesture, the state has now said it will find alternate housing for those residents impacted by the anti-encroachment drive. Shivkumar also clarified that only impacted residents eligible for housing would find new homes. In fact, the demolition drive has been under the spotlight in the recent past also for eliciting a response by Kerala Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan, who criticized the demolitions and asked for the Karnataka government to take a more rational approach, to which the Karnataka government, mincing no words, said that the Kerala Chief Minister ought not to interfere in the affairs of another state. Moving to Chennai next, in a second incident in just under a month, the Chennai Metro Rail saw a disruption to its operations when passengers traveling on the Green Line to the Chennai airport were forced to disembark and use an alternate line to get to their destination. The Chennai Metro Rail Limited has issued a statement saying that technical issues were to blame for the disruption itself. CMRL has now asked passengers taking the Chennai railway station, the Central Railway Station line to the Chennai airport to disembark at the Alamur station and switch to the Blue Line in order to complete their journey. Now, what's significant is that the disruption is just the second one in less than a month. In early December, a glitch caused passengers on the Chennai Metro Rail to in fact walk the last mile of their metro journeys in an underground tunnel as their train came to an abrupt halt. Well, lots of technical issues there for the Chennai Metro Rail, even as its phase 2 is underway by way of construction activity itself. But staying with Chennai, 4 juveniles in the city's neighboring Tiruvallur district have been detained after a vicious attack on a migrant worker from Madhya Pradesh on Sunday. All 4 juveniles, aged 17, were detained by police personnel after a video of the attack went viral, prompting both a political and humanitarian outcry. The victim, a migrant worker from Madhya Pradesh, has received treatment for grievous injuries. He was reportedly attacked with machetes by the 4 juveniles while they were traveling on a train near the Tirutani railway station. All 4 children were reportedly under the influence of drugs. Police are now said to be examining the video footage closely to gain further insight into what is widely being reported as a hate crime. Remember, the police have not come out and said it's a hate crime just as yet, but the fact is that a constant drug influx within the city of Chennai, as per reports, along with cases of rising crime, have given some level of concern to authorities here, even as the latest crime has shocked both the observers and residents in the Tiruvallur district near Chennai. Shifting focus to Bengaluru next, the city is rolling out one of its biggest ever security operations for New Year's Eve, as crowds are expected to surge into Bangalore's popular celebration hubs. Authorities have deployed around 20,000 police personnel across the city, from MG Road and Koramangala to Indiranagar and Whitefield, to manage crowd control, traffic and public safety. The plan blends manpower with high-tech surveillance, including AI-enabled CCTV systems, watchtowers, and heat mapping tools to monitor crowd density and detect potential trouble spots. In fact, dedicated help desks and women's safety units are being set up alongside increased deployment of all-women police teams and rapid response units for quick interventions. Traffic movement in the city is expected to be tightly regulated in key zones, with vehicle restrictions and extended metro and bus services to ease dispersal after midnight. Remember, Bangalore has seen its own share of New Year's Eve related disruptions, which have of course made headlines the very next day. So it clearly seems like the city and its police authorities want to leave no stone unturned in ensuring that New Year's Eve celebrations carry on in a safe and regulated manner. Well, staying with Bengaluru itself, Union Civil Minister Ram Mohan Naidu has inaugurated and flagged off the maiden flight of HAL's next generation civil helicopter, the Dhruv NG. The inauguration itself took place in Bengaluru, marking a key milestone in India's indigenous aviation push. Now, the Dhruv NG is a 5.5-ton twin-engine multi-role aircraft built by HAL. It's designed for diverse civilian missions, and this includes VIP transport and an air ambulance role to, in fact, offshore operations and disaster relief. The helicopter's design and build, in fact, is aimed at competing with imported light twin-engine helicopters globally. Equipped with twin Shakti 1H1C engines, a civil-certified glass cockpit, advanced avionics and safety systems, and a configurable cabin that can carry up to 14 passengers, the Dhruv NG underscores India's push for an Atmanirbhar Bharat in aerospace manufacturing. In fact, let's listen in to what the Civil Aviation Minister had to say.
Historic occasion for both the defense and civil aviation sectors in the country, thanks to HAL for taking the first flight of Dhruv NG, which we are trying to give civil aviation certification to. Already the engine which is used inside it, the Shakti engine, has been type certified by the DGCA, which itself is a very important occasion, because we are seeing a lot of invention happening, lot of manufacturing happening for the defense sector through HAL, where civil aviation can take advantage of. And that has been the primary focus under the visionary leadership of Honorable Prime Minister, that the manufacturing ecosystem that HAL has, how can we facilitate it to civil aviation? And one of the most important steps, the foundation steps that we are taking here today, is through Dhruv NG, which is a light helicopter that we are today, which can be configured for multiple purposes, for offshore operations, for medical ambulances, for tourism purposes, for VIP operations or regular travel to remote areas. So there are multiple options and multiple potential that is originating in the country. Right now we are at the stage of having 300 helicopters in the country, but the demand is for 1,000 to 1,500. So we can't just rely on foreign buyers. We have a vision for Atmanirbhar Bharat. So civil aviation with the DGCA arm also extending a lot of support to the HAL, and HAL also changing their approach from defense to civil aviation has created that wonderful machine which is the Dhruv NG. It's a glass cockpit machine which can fly high altitudes. So we are very happy for the first step that we have taken today, which is going to be a remarkable step in the collaboration between civil aviation and defense. And civil aviation is going to benefit a lot from this in the future.
Well, the Union Civil Aviation Minister there not just underlining the Dhruv's newfound capabilities, but also saying that India's requirement for helicopters really needs to be dealt with on a war footing, with the supply being around 200, with the demand level lying in the range of 1,000. What's also heartwarming there to note is the fact that HAL has focused now on civil applications, which is one of the areas that the Dhruv NG will now be applied to, especially given that its twin engines will be put to great use for these civilian missions. And no doubt this also means a massive push for India's Atmanirbhar mission. So not just made in India, but certainly made for India, and that bevy of civil aviation applications that will now come by way of the Dhruv NG and its commissioning for Indian civil needs in aviation. Now, before we end, we leave you with visuals of thousands of rosy starlings. These are in fact migratory bird species from Eastern Europe and Central Asia. They've now descended on the Thoothukudi district in large numbers. Remember, it's December, which means the migratory season is well and truly upon us, with flocks of birds in fact making their way to more forgiving, tropical and certainly warmer climates like in South Tamil Nadu, turning the skies here into stunning swirls of flight and drawing bird watchers and locals alike to these wetlands, salt pans, agricultural fields and neighborhoods. In fact, this year's influx, especially around the Tambirabarni River in Thoothukudi, is more pronounced than in past seasons, given the massive coordinated flocks that have made themselves visible, especially during the late afternoon hours. Experts say abundant water this year in the region's tanks and wetlands has created the ideal feeding and roosting conditions for these rosy starlings. Added, of course, to this are babul trees planted under social forestry schemes, which have now emerged as key resting sites for these migratory birds. The birds, remember, help with natural pest control, feeding on insects, locusts and worms, even as they make their way to Thoothukudi and the Tambirabarni River to make their new home, in a sense, given the fact that it's December and the migratory bird season is well and truly upon us. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of South Central. Thanks so much for watching. We'll be back tomorrow with more news and updates from South India. For the moment, it's goodbye from us.